Poetry awakens and enlarges the mind itself by rendering it the receptacle of 1,000 unapprehended combinations of thought. Poetry lifts the veil from the hidden beauty of the world and makes familiar objects be as if they were not familiar. The great secret of morals is love, or a going out of our own nature and an identification of ourselves with the beautiful which exists in thought, action, or person not our own. A man, to be greatly good, must imagine intensely and comprehensively. He must put himself in the place of another and of many others. The pains and pleasures of his species must become his own. The great instrument of moral good is the imagination, and poetry administers to the effect by acting upon the cause. Poetry is not like reasoning, a power to be exerted according to the determination of the will. A man cannot say, "I will compose poetry." The greatest poet even cannot say it. For the mind in creation is as a fading coal, which some invisible influence, like an inconstant wind, awakens to transitory brightness. This power arises from within, like the color of a flower which fades and changes as it's developed, and the conscious portions of our nature are unprophetic either of its approach or its departure. When composition begins, inspiration is already on the decline, and the most glorious poetry that has ever been communicated to the world is probably a feeble shadow of the original conceptions of the poet. Poetry turns all things to loveliness. It exalts the beauty of that which is most beautiful, and it adds beauty to that which is most deformed. It marries exaltation and horror, grief and pleasure, eternity and change. It subdues to union under its light yoke all irreconcilable things. Poets are the hierophants of an unapprehended inspiration, the mirrors of the gigantic shadows which futurity casts upon the present, the words which express what they understand not, the trumpets which sing to battle and feel not what they inspire, the influence which is moved not, but moves. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world.
An old, mad, blind, despised and dying king. Princes, the dregs of their dull race, who flow through public scorn, mud from a muddy spring. Rulers who neither see nor feel nor know, but leech-like to their fainting country cling, till they drop blind in blood without a blow. A people starved and stabbed in the untilled field. An army which liberticide and prey makes as a two-edged sword to all who wield. Golden and sanguine laws which tempt and slay. Religion Christless, godless, a book sealed. A senate, time's worst statute unrepealed, are graves, from which a glorious phantom may burst to illumine our tempestuous day. As I lay asleep in Italy, there came a voice from over the sea, and with great power it forth led me to walk in the visions of poesy. I met Murder on the way. He had a mask like Castlereagh. Very smooth he looked, yet grim. 7 bloodhounds followed him. All were fat, and well they might be in admirable plight, for 1 by 1 and 2 by 2 he tossed them human hearts to chew, which from his wide cloak he drew. Next came Fraud, and he had on, like Eldon, an ermined gown. His big tears, for he wept well, turned to millstones as they fell. And the little children who round his feet played to and fro, thinking every tear a gem, had their brains knocked out by them. Clothed with the Bible as with light and the shadows of the night, like Sidmouth next Hypocrisy on a crocodile rode by. And many more destructions played in this ghastly masquerade, all disguised even to the eyes, like bishops, lawyers, peers, or spies. Last came Anarchy. He rode on a white horse, splashed with blood. He was pale even to the lips, like death in the apocalypse. and he wore a kingly crown, and in his grasp a sceptre shone. On his brow this mark I saw: I am God, and King, and Law. What art thou, freedom? Oh, could slaves answer from their living graves this demand, tyrants would flee like a dream's dim imagery. Thou art not, as impostors say, a shadow soon to pass away, a superstition and a name echoing from the cave of fame. For the labourer thou art bread, and a comely table spread from his daily labour come in a neat and happy home. Thou art clothes and fire and food for the trampled multitude. No, in countries that are free, such starvation cannot be as in England now we see. To the rich thou art a check. When his foot is on the neck of his victim, thou dost make that he treads upon a snake. Thou art justice. Ne'er for gold may thy righteous laws be sold, as laws are in England. Thou shield'st alike the high and low. Thou art wisdom. Free men never dream that God will damn forever all who think those things untrue of which priests make such ado. Thou art peace. Never by thee would blood and treasure wasted be, as tyrants wasted them, when all leagued to quench thy flame in Gaul. What if English toil and blood was poured forth, even as a flood? It availed, O liberty, to dim but not extinguish thee. Thou art love. The rich have kissed thy feet, and like him following Christ, give their substance to the free, and through the rough world follow thee, or turn their wealth to arms, and make war for thy beloved's sake on wealth, and war, and fraud, whence they drew the power which is their prey. Science, poetry, and thought are thy lamps. They make the lot of the dwellers in a cot so serene they curse it not. Spirit, patience, gentleness, all that can adorn and bless art thou. Let deeds, not words, express thine exceeding loveliness. Ye who suffer woes untold, or to feel or to behold your lost country bought and sold with a price of blood and gold, let a vast assembly be, and with great solemnity declare with measured words that ye are, as God has made ye, free. Rise like lions after slumber in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few.
On a poet's lips I slept, dreaming like a love adept, in the sound his breathing kept. Nor seeks nor finds he mortal blisses, but feeds on the aerial kisses of shapes that haunt thought's wildernesses. He will watch from dawn to gloom the lake-reflected sun illume the yellow bees in the ivy bloom. Nor heed, nor see what things they be. But from these create he can forms more real than living man, nurslings of immortality.
Gentleness, virtue, wisdom, and endurance, these are the seals of that most firm assurance which bars the pit over destruction's strength. And if, with infirm hand, eternity, mother of many acts and hours, should free the serpent that would clasp her with his length, these are the spells by which to reassume an empire o'er the disentangled doom. To suffer woes which hope thinks infinite, to forgive wrongs darker than death or night, to defy power which seems omnipotent, to love and bear, to hope till hope creates from its own wreck the thing it contemplates, neither to change nor falter nor repent. This, like thy glory, Titan, is to be good, great, and joyous, beautiful and free. This is alone life, joy, empire, and victory.
Now the last day of many days, all beautiful and bright as thou, the loveliest and the last, is dead. Rise, memory, and write its praise. Up to thy wonted work, come, trace the epitaph of glory fled. For now the earth has changed its face. A frown is on the heaven's brow. We wandered to the pine forest that skirts the ocean's foam. The lightest wind was in its nest, the tempest in its home. The whispering waves were half asleep, the clouds were gone to play, and on the bosom of the deep the smile of heaven lay. It seemed as if the hour were one sent from beyond the skies, which scattered from above the sun a light of paradise. We paused amid the pines that stood, the giants of the waste, tortured by storms to shapes as rude as serpents interlaced, and soothed by every azure breath that under heaven is blown to harmonies and hues beneath as tender as its own. Now all the treetops lay asleep like green waves on the sea, as still as in the silent deep the ocean woods may be. How calm it was! The silence there by such a chain was bound that even the busy woodpecker made stiller by her sound the inviolable quietness. The breath of peace we drew with its soft motion made not less the calm that round us grew. There seemed from the remotest seat of the white mountain waste to the soft flower beneath our feet a magic circle traced, a spirit interfused around, a thrilling silent life. To momentary peace it bound our mortal nature's strife. And still I felt the center of the magic circle there was one fair form that filled with love the lifeless atmosphere. We paused beside the pools that lie under the forest bough. Each seemed as 'twere a little sky, gulfed in a world below, a firmament of purple light which in the dark earth lay, more boundless than the depth of night, and purer than the day, in which the lovely forests grew as in the upper air, more perfect both in shape and hue than any spreading there. There lay the glade and neighbouring lawn, and through the dark green wood the white sun twinkling like the dawn out of a speckled cloud. Sweet views which in our world above can never well be seen were imaged by the water's love of that fair forest green, and all was interfused beneath with an Elysian glow, an atmosphere without a breath, a softer day below. Like one beloved the scene had lent to the dark water's breast its every leaf and lineament, with more than truth expressed, until an envious wind crept by, like an unwelcome thought, which from the mind's too faithful eye blots one dear image out. Though thou art ever fair and kind, the forests ever green, less oft is peace in Shelley's mind than calm in waters seen. I never was attached to that great sect whose doctrine is that each one should select out of the crowd a mistress or a friend, and all the rest, though fair and wise, commend to cold oblivion, though it is in the code of modern morals, and the beaten road which those poor slaves with weary footsteps tread, who travel to their home among the dead by the broad highway of the world, and so with one chained friend, perhaps a jealous foe, the dreariest and the longest journey go. True love in this differs from gold and clay, that to divide is not to take away. Love is like understanding that grows bright, gazing on many truths. 'Tis like thy light imagination, which from earth and sky, and from the depths of human fantasy, as from 1,000 prisms and mirrors, fills the universe with glorious beams, and kills error, the worm, with many a sun-like arrow of its reverberated lightning. Narrow the heart that loves, the brain that contemplates, the life that wears, the spirit that creates one object and one form, and builds thereby a sepulchre for its eternity. A ship is floating in the harbour now. A wind is hovering o'er the mountain's brow. There is a path on the sea's azure floor. No keel has ever ploughed that path before. The halcyons brood around the foamless isles. The treacherous ocean has forsworn its wiles. The merry mariners are bold and free. Say, my heart's sister, wilt thou sail with me? Our bark is as an albatross, whose nest is a far Eden of the purple east. And we between her wings will sit, while night and day and storm and calm pursue their flight, our ministers, along the boundless sea, treading each other's heels unheededly. It is an isle under Ionian skies, beautiful as a wreck of paradise, and for the harbours are not safe and good, this land would have remained a solitude, but for some pastoral people native there, who from the Elysian, clear and golden air, draw the last spirit of the age of gold, simple and spirited, innocent and bold. The blue Aegean girds this chosen home, with ever-changing sound and light and foam, kissing the sifted sands and caverns hoar, and all the winds wandering along the shore undulate with the undulating tide. There are thick woods where sylvan forms abide, and many a fountain, rivulet and pond, as clear as elemental diamond, or serene morning air. And far beyond, the mossy tracks made by the goats and deer, which the rough shepherd treads but once a year, pierce into glades, caverns and bowers and halls, built round with ivy which the waterfalls, illumining with sound that never fails, accompany the noonday nightingales. And all the place is peopled with sweet airs. The light, clear element which the isle wears is heavy with the scent of lemon flowers, which floats like mist laden with unseen showers, and falls upon the eyelids like faint sleep. And from the moss, violets and jonquils peep, and dart their arrowy odour through the brain, till you might faint with that delight. And every motion, odour, beam, and tone, with that deep music is in unison, which is a soul within the soul. They seem like echoes of an antenatal dream.
Music, when soft voices die, vibrates in the memory. Odours, when sweet violets sicken, live within the sense they quicken. Rose leaves, when the rose is dead, are heaped for the beloved's bed. And so thy thoughts, when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on.
O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven, like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing, yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence-stricken multitudes. O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed the winged seeds, where they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow her clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill, driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odours, plain and hill. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, oh hear. Thou on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed, shook from the tangled boughs of heaven and ocean, angels of rain and lightning. That are spread on the blue surface of thine airy surge, like the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of the horizon to the zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm. Thou dirge of the dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of a vast sepulchre, vaulted with all thy congregated might of vapours, from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst. O hear, thou who didst waken from his summer dreams the blue Mediterranean, where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a pumice isle in Bysshe Bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and towers quivering within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers so sweet the sense faints picturing them. Thou for whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleave themselves into chasms, while far below the sea blooms and the oozy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean know thy voice, and suddenly grow grey with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear. If I were a dead leaf thou mightest bear, if I were a swift cloud to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power, and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O uncontrollable. If even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as then, when to outstrip thy skyey speed scarce seemed a vision, I would ne'er have striven as thus with thee in prayer in my sore need. O lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud. I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. A heavy weight of hours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep autumnal tone, sweet though in sadness. Be thou spirit fierce, my spirit. Be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe, like withered leaves, to quicken a new birth, and by the incantation of this verse, scatter, as from an unextinguished hearth, ashes and sparks, my words among mankind. Be through my lips to unawakened earth the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?
I arise from dreams of thee in the first sweet sleep of night, when the winds are breathing low and the stars are shining bright. I arise from dreams of thee, and a spirit in my feet hath led me, who knows how, to thy chamber window sweet. The wandering airs, they faint on the dark, the silent stream. The champak odours fail, like sweet thoughts in a dream. The nightingale's complaint, it dies upon her heart, as I must on thine. O beloved, O lift me from the grass, I fail. Let thy love in kisses rain on my lips and eyelids pale. My cheek is cold and white, alas, my heart beats loud and fast. O press it to thine own again, where it will break at last.
Away, the moor is dark beneath the moon. Rapid clouds have drank the last pale beam of even. Away, the gathering winds will call the darkness soon, and profoundest midnight shroud the serene lights of heaven. Pause not, the time is past, every voice cries away. Tempt not with one last tear thy friend's ungentle mood. Thy lover's eye, so glazed and cold, dares not entreat thy stay. Duty and dereliction guide thee back to solitude. Away, away, to thy sad and silent home. Pour bitter tears on its desolated hearth. Watch the dim shades, as like ghosts they go and come, and complicate strange webs of melancholy mirth. The leaves of wasted autumn woods shall float around thine head, the blooms of dewy spring shall gleam beneath thy feet, but thy soul o'er this world must fade in the frost that binds the dead, ere midnight's frown and morning's smile, ere thou and peace may meet. The cloud shadows of midnight possess their own repose, for the weary winds are silent, or the moon is in the deep. Some respite to its turbulence unresting ocean knows. Whatever moves, or toils, or grieves, hath its appointed sleep. Thou in the grave shalt rest. Yet till the phantoms flee, which that house and heath and garden made dear to thee erewhile, thy remembrance and repentance and deep musings are not free from the music of two voices and the light of one sweet smile.
The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single. All things by a law divine in one spirit meet and mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me?
When the lamp is shattered, the light in the dust lies dead. When the cloud is scattered, the rainbow's glory is shed. When the lute is broken, sweet tones are remembered not. When the lips have spoken, loved accents are soon forgot. As music and splendor survive not the lamp and the lute, the heart's echoes render no song when the spirit is mute. No song but sad dirges, like the wind through a ruined cell, or the mournful surges that ring the dead seaman's knell. When hearts have once mingled, love first leaves the well-built nest. The weak one is singled to endure what it once possessed. O love, who bewailest the frailty of all things here, why choose you the frailest for your cradle, your home, and your bier? Its passions will rock thee as the storms rock the ravens on high. Bright reason will mock thee like the sun from a wintry sky. From thy nest every rafter will rot, and thine eagle home leave thee naked to laughter, when leaves fall and cold winds come. I weep for Adonais, he is dead. Oh, weep for Adonais, though our tears thaw not the frost which binds so dear a head. And thou, sad hour, selected from all years to mourn our loss, rouse thy obscure compeers and teach them thine own sorrow. Say, with me died Adonais, till the future dares forget the past. His fate and fame shall be an echo and a light unto eternity. Where wert thou, mighty mother, when he lay, when thy son lay, pierced by the shaft which flies in darkness? Where was lorn Urania, when Adonais died? With veiled eyes, mid listening echoes, in her paradise she sat, while one with soft enamoured breath rekindled all the fading melodies with which, like flowers that mock the corse beneath, he had adorned and hid the coming bulk of death. Oh, weep for Adonais, he is dead. Wake, melancholy mother, wake and weep. Yet wherefore? quench within their burning bed thy fiery tears, and let thy loud heart keep, like his, a mute and uncomplaining sleep. For he is gone, where all things wise and fair descend. Oh, dream not that the amorous deep will yet restore him to the vital air. Death feeds on his mute voice and laughs at our despair. Most musical of mourners, weep again. Lament anew Urania. He died who was the sire of an immortal strain, blind, old, and lonely, when his country's pride, the priest, the slave, and the liberticide, trampled and mocked with many a loathed rite of lust and blood. He went unterrified into the gulf of death. But his clear sprite yet reigns o'er earth, the third among the sons of light. Most musical of mourners, weep anew. Not all to that bright station dared to climb, and happier they their happiness who knew, whose tapers yet burn through that night of time in which suns perished. Others, more sublime, struck by the envious wrath of man or God, have sunk extinct in their effulgent prime, and some yet live, treading the thorny road which leads through toil and hate to fame's serene abode. But now thy youngest, dearest one has perished, the nursling of thy widowhood, who grew like a pale flower by some sad maiden cherished, and fed with true love tears instead of dew. Most musical of mourners, weep anew. Thy extreme hope, the loveliest and the last, the bloom whose petals nipped before they blew died on the promise of the fruit, is waste. The broken lily lies, the storm is overpast. To that high capital where kingly death keeps his pale court in beauty and decay, he came, and bought with price of purest breath a grave among the eternal. Come away, haste, while the vault of blue Italian day is yet his fitting charnel roof, while still he lies, as if in dewy sleep he lay. Awake him not. Surely he takes his fill of deep and liquid rest, forgetful of all ill. He has outsoared the shadow of our night. Envy and calumny and hate and pain, and that unrest which men miscall delight, can touch him not and torture not again. From the contagion of the world's slow stain he is secure, and now can never mourn a heart grown cold, a head grown grey and vain, nor, when the spirit's self has ceased to burn, with sparkless ashes load an unlamented urn. He lives, he wakes, 'tis death is dead, not he. Mourn not for Adonais. Thou young dawn, turn all thy dew to splendor, for from thee the spirit thou lamentest is not gone. Ye caverns and ye forests, cease to moan, cease ye faint flowers and fountains, and thou air, which like a mourning veil thy scarf hadst thrown o'er the abandoned earth, now leave it bare, even to the joyous stars which smile on its despair. He is made one with nature. There is heard his voice in all her music, from the moan of thunder to the song of night's sweet bird. He is a presence to be felt and known in darkness and in light, from herb and stone, spreading itself where'er that power may move which has withdrawn his being to its own, which wields the world with never wearied love, sustains it from beneath, and kindles it above. He is a portion of the loveliness which once he made more lovely. He doth bear his part, while the one spirit's plastic stress sweeps through the dull, dense world, compelling there all new successions to the forms they wear, torturing the unwilling dross that checks its flight to its own likeness, as each mass may bear, and bursting in its beauty and its might from trees and beasts and men into the heavens' light. The splendors of the firmament of time may be eclipsed, but are extinguished not. Like stars, to their appointed height they climb, and death is a low mist which cannot blot the brightness it may veil. When lofty thought lifts a young heart above its mortal lair, and love and life contend in it for what shall be its earthly doom, the dead live there, and move like winds of light on dark and stormy air. The inheritors of unfulfilled renown rose from their thrones, built beyond mortal thought, far in the unapparent. Chatterton rose, pale. His solemn agony had not yet faded from him. Sidney, as he fought and as he fell, and as he lived and loved, sublimely mild, a spirit without spot arose. And Lucan by his death approved. Oblivion, as they rose, shrank like a thing reproved. And many more, whose names on earth are dark, but whose transmitted effluence cannot die so long as fire outlives the parent spark, rose, robed in dazzling immortality. Thou art become as one of us, they cry. It was for thee yon kingless sphere has long swung blind in unascended majesty, silent, alone, amid an heaven of song. Assume thy winged throne, thou vesper of our throng. The one remains, the many change and pass. Heaven's light forever shines, earth's shadows fly. Life, like a dome of many-colored glass, stains the white radiance of eternity until death tramples it to fragments. Die, if thou wouldst be with that which thou dost seek. Follow where all is fled. Rome's azure sky, flowers, ruins, statues, music, words are weak. The glory they transfuse with fitting truth to speak. Why linger? Why turn back? Why shrink, my heart? Thy hopes are gone before. From all things here they have departed. Thou shouldst now depart. A light is passed from the revolving year, and man and woman. And what still is dear attracts to crush, repels to make thee wither. The soft sky smiles, the low wind whispers near, 'tis Adonais calls, oh, hasten thither, no more let life divide what death can join together. That light whose smile kindles the universe, that beauty in which all things work and move, that benediction which the eclipsing curse of birth can quench not, that sustaining love which through the web of being blindly wove by man and beast and earth and air and sea burns bright or dim, as each are mirrors of the fire for which all thirst, now beams on me, consuming the last clouds of cold mortality. The breath whose might I have invoked in song descends on me. My spirit's bark is driven far from the shore, far from the trembling throng whose sails were never to the tempest given. The massy earth and sphered skies are riven. I am borne darkly, fearfully, afar, whilst burning through the inmost veil of heaven, the soul of Adonais, like a star, beacons from the abode where the eternal are.
A widow bird sat mourning for her love upon a wintry bough. The frozen wind crept on above, the freezing stream below. There was no leaf upon the forest bare, no flower upon the ground, and little motion in the air except the mill wheel's sound.
swiftly walk o'er the western wave, spirit of night, out of the misty eastern cave, where all the long and lone daylight thou wovest dreams of joy and fear, which make thee terrible and dear. Swift be thy flight. Wrap thy form in a mantle grey, star inwrought. Blind with thine hair the eyes of day, kiss her until she be wearied out, then wander o'er city and sea and land, touching all with thine opiate wand. Come, long sought. When I arose and saw the dawn, I sighed for thee. When light rode high and the dew was gone, and noon lay heavy on flower and tree, and the weary day turned to his rest, lingering like an unloved guest, I sighed for thee. Thy brother Death came and cried, wouldst thou me? Thy sweet child Sleep, the filmy-eyed, murmured like a noontide bee, shall I nestle near thy side, wouldst thou me? And I replied, no, not thee. Death will come when thou art dead, soon, too soon. Sleep will come when thou art fled. Of neither would I ask the boon I ask of thee, beloved night. Swift be thine approaching flight. Come soon, soon.
I met a traveller from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
The world's great age begins anew, the golden years return. The earth doth like a snake renew her winter weeds outworn. Heaven smiles, and faiths and empires gleam like wrecks of a dissolving dream. A brighter Hellas rears its mountains from waves serener far. A new Peneus rolls his fountains against the morning star. Where fairer Tempes bloom, there sleep young Cyclades on a sunnier deep. A loftier Argo cleaves the main, fraught with a later prize. Another Orpheus sings again, and loves and weeps and dies. A new Ulysses leaves once more Calypso for his native shore. Oh, write no more the tale of Troy, if earth death's scroll must be, nor mix with Leian rage the joy which dawns upon the free. Although a subtler Sphinx renew riddles of death Thebes never knew. Another Athens shall arise, and to remoter time bequeath, like sunset to the skies, the splendor of its prime, and leave, if naught so bright may live, all earth can take, or heaven can give. Saturn and love their long repose shall burst, more bright and good than all who fell, than one who rose, than many unsubdued. Not gold, not blood their altar dowers, but votive tears and symbol flowers. Oh, cease! Must hate and death return? Cease! Must men kill and die? Cease! Drain not to its dregs the urn of bitter prophecy. The world is weary of the past. Oh, might it die or rest at last.